Welcome to today's Explainer. I'm Dr. Chem, and right now we're stepping into the lecture hall to explore one of the absolute most precise analytical tools we have in nuclear and solid-state chemistry, Mössbauer Spectroscopy. We're going to take a cinematic journey straight from the microscopic nucleus all the way up to real-world material science. Let's get right into it. So, how exactly do we probe the deepest secrets of the atomic nucleus? Well, I want you to imagine the sheer impossibility of shooting a gamma-ray bullet between two identical nuclei without the natural recoil completely ruining the shot. It's like firing a gun, right? The gun recoils. Conservation of momentum dictates that a nucleus must recoil when it emits or absorbs a gamma ray. And this tiny, seemingly unavoidable loss of kinetic energy, it usually makes resonant absorption completely unobservable with free nuclei. The energy just shifts way too far out of alignment. Our syllabus for this explainer is pretty straightforward. We'll start with the Mössbauer effect itself, then move into resonance and the Doppler shift, figure out how we're decoding the spectrum, and finally wrap up with some real-world applications. All right, Section 1, the Mössbauer effect.
If you're looking at free nuclei bouncing around in a gas or a liquid, the atom is going to recoil the second it emits a gamma quantum. That recoil energy is around 10 to the minus 3 electron volts. Now that might sound incredibly small, but it's actually 6 orders of magnitude larger than the natural width of the resonance line. Because of that huge mismatch, the emission and absorption lines shift away from each other, leaving absolutely zero overlap, no resonance. But here is the genius part. Binding that same nucleus inside a rigid crystal lattice beautifully solves this problem by absorbing the recoil. Instead of a single atom getting knocked back, that recoil energy is transferred to the entire crystal lattice as quantized vibrations. We call these phonons.
Now, if that recoil energy is actually less than the lowest phonon energy, we get what's called a zero phonon process. No lattice excitation takes place at all. So the crucial takeaway here is this recoil-free fraction, officially known as the Lamb-Mössbauer factor. Think of it as the elegant cheat code that makes observing nuclear resonance even possible. Because the momentum is absorbed by the massive solid as a whole, practically no energy is lost. The emitted gamma ray maintains its exact transition energy. Moving right along to Section 2, resonance and the Doppler shift. A typical Mössbauer experiment is just this elegantly synchronized system. First, you've got a radioactive source, usually cobalt-57, embedded in rhodium metal. That decays into an excited state of iron-57, and it emits a 14.4 kiloelectron volt gamma ray. But here's the catch. Because the source and our iron-57 absorber sample almost always have totally different chemical environments and oxidation states, their nuclear energy levels don't align perfectly. So, to bridge that gap, we use a velocity transducer. It's basically a linear motor that physically moves the source back and forth. This creates a Doppler shift, gently modulating the energy of the gamma rays until it perfectly matches the required resonant energy of our sample. When it hits that exact energy sweet spot, the sample absorbs the ray, and our detector records a sharp drop in gamma ray intensity. Just to give you a sense of the incredible precision we're dealing with here, scanning across the resonance conditions for an iron-57 sample typically requires velocities within a tiny range of just plus or minus 11 millimeters per second, literally just a few millimeters. That equates to energy shifts of mere nano-electron volts. So we are using macroscopic millimeter-scale physical movements to detect infinitesimal energy shifts deep inside an atomic nucleus. It's wild. Okay, let's jump into Section 3, decoding the spectrum. So once we have our machine running, we get a spectrum. Here we can see the 3 primary hyperfine interactions that perturb our nuclear energy levels. This is basically our fundamental roadmap for reading that spectrum. We've got electric monopole interactions that lead to isomer shifts, electric quadrupole interactions causing quadrupole splitting, and magnetic dipole interactions which give us magnetic splitting. The isomer shift is a particularly fascinating one. It happens because, out of all the atomic orbitals, only s electrons have a non-zero probability of actually being inside the nucleus. During an experiment, the nuclear radius of our atom is actually different in its excited state than it is in its ground state. And because your source and your absorber are different materials, well, their electron densities are going to be different too. This mismatch in Coulombic interactions physically shifts the entire spectrum away from zero Doppler velocity. By measuring this isomer shift, we can figure out crucial chemical traits like oxidation states and electronegativity.
Moving a bit deeper, we run into the electric quadrupole interaction. If a nuclear state has a spin greater than 1/2, like the excited state of iron-57, it actually has a non-spherical nuclear charge. kind of like a squash sphere. When this non-spherical charge interacts with an inhomogeneous electric field gradient, say from a non-cubic electron distribution, it causes quadrupole splitting. Visually on our spectrum, we see this as a single absorption peak separating into a distinct doublet. 2 peaks. And the distance between those 2 peaks? That tells us so much about the symmetry and the exact arrangement of ligands around the atom.
Finally, Section 4, Real-World Applications. Let's see how we actually use this. Because this technique is so intensely sensitive to oxidation states and the highly localized chemical environments of atoms, it has become absolutely indispensable in the real world. I mean, it's heavily relied upon for tracking phase transformations in alloys, analyzing precise material properties in things like magnetic tape and glass manufacturing, and studying the nitrification of steel. But perhaps one of its absolute most common everyday industrial uses is in corrosion studies.
Looking directly at these real-world corrosion products, we can use these spectra to easily distinguish between the roughly 6 different iron oxides and oxyhydroxides that commonly form. For example, check out magnetite. We can identify it instantly by its 2 overlapping sextets. These unique, complex signatures happen because the iron 2 and iron 3 ions are sitting in totally separate structural sites within the crystal lattice. That means they experience completely different internal magnetic fields and electron densities. And Mössbauer spectroscopy maps that out flawlessly.
It really is brilliant. Mössbauer spectroscopy allows scientists to measure extremely subtle nuclear-level interactions that reveal the hidden electronic and magnetic structure of matter. This elegant technique truly bridges the gap between raw nuclear physics and tangible chemical structure. We've literally transformed an atomic obstacle, the recoil of a nucleus, into an analytical masterpiece. By relying on the collective rigidity of a crystal lattice, we can peer directly into the core of an atom and see its immediate surroundings. So as we wrap up this masterclass explainer, I want to leave you with a thought to ponder about the sheer power of measuring the infinitesimally small. If tracking energy shifts of mere nano-electron volts can map the complex atomic architecture of our industrial world, what other profound macroscopic mysteries are waiting to be unlocked by looking closer at the quantum realm? Thank you for diving into the science with me today. Keep asking questions and keep exploring.